All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Nathan.
So they started planning in 1901. They finished building in 1905. When they finished building the hotel, this is what the restaurant looked like in 1905.
Oh, it did, right there. Right where we ate.
Exactly.
Excellent.
We've kept it pretty much to the original standard. The chairs or everything are reproduction chairs.
Obsessive compulsive.
We replaced the wood floors with carpet. This is how the original dining room looked.
Okay.
When we first opened up, we were considered one of the most exquisite hotels on the west side of the Mississippi.
Oh, really?
One of the reasons for this is we were one of the few hotels at that time to have our own steam engine power plant on site.
Wow.
So we had electricity back in 1901.
Oh, really?
And so steam engine, you need water to run for it. So we got our water 120 miles away from the Rio Grande River. So that's when they built the train line, was right around that time, so we can get our water up here. So the train started back then and brought supplies, people, and water up here.
Okay.
Now we don't get our water 120 miles away. We're still in the desert area. We actually get our water about 12 miles away from the north rim of the canyon. On Warring Springs.
Okay.
All of the water that we use here in the village comes from the north side of the canyon. So they pump it all the way down to the bottom of the canyon and then pump it back up the canyon completely, and that's how we get our water. So technically our water is like fresh spring water because it's coming from Warring Springs.
So it's not tap water.
No, it's technically tap water because it's being
Through the tap.
but it's coming from Warring Springs. Our water that we drink up here.
It was great.
Yeah, I love it up here. The
great.
water up here.
Okay.
Also, when we were built in 1905, we had our own dairy farm and our own greenhouse. So we were very much a self-sustainable organization, restaurant, because at that time it was really hard to get different supplies and stuff up here. So those are we were a Fred Harvey company. Fred Harvey was a gentleman who started his career back in New York. He started as a dishwasher. Him and his buddy decided to start opening up some restaurants in New York. Well, his buddy decided to embezzle all the money and run away with it.
Oh, no.
So Fred Harvey decided, well, let me go to the West, like everyone else is doing. Let me see what's going on in the West. So he's taking the train out here, and he realizing how poor the accommodations, the food services, and everything like that. So he would revamp the whole Southwest dining experience on the railway. He started with chef carts, different hotels. He hired young ladies in the early 18s and 20s to come and work for him. He did this. This was very controversial at the time because women didn't have the right to vote back at this time.
Right. That was before the suffrage, women's suffrage.
So the women had very little rights at this time in our history. And for him to do it was kind of like a controversial idea. Another big thing that he did that was considered controversial, his main architect was Mary Jane Coulter. Mary Jane Coulter was one of the first female architects, and she's could be described as a jean-wearing, chain-smoking female.
Is she the one that did the tower?
She did the Vesuvio Watchtower.
Yeah.
She did not design the El Tovar. She did some of the interior work, but as an architect, the architect for the El Tovar was Charles Wesley. He was the one who designed this building.
Charles Wesley.
Yes. Mary Jane Coulter did Hopi House, which is just right across the street.
Oh, yes. We're going to visit that next.
Beautiful. Lookout Studio, Phantom Ranch, Hermit's Rest, way up.
That's where we're going to?
Yeah, that has a really unique fireplace out there. It's basically a whole room that's a giant fireplace.
Okay.
Each layer of rock on the fireplace is representative of the layers in the canyon. So it's a different layer of rocks in the canyon are also on this fireplace. Also, this room we're standing in is the present Teddy Roosevelt suite. What the story goes is in 1914, President Teddy Roosevelt was coming up here, and he wanted his own private dining room. So they built this for him.
Just for him.
Just for him. If you look at this picture right over here, that is how the dining room originally looked in 1914 when they first built it. Now, from that time, this room has taken many forms and shapes. In the 80s, this was actually an office. So it had the 1970s shag carpet, had drywall up here. There was a divided wall right down the middle, and actually this side of the room was the cashier's case. So you would pay for your food, and right here, and before you leave. Well, in the 80s, they decided, well, let's restore this back to its original.